All right, everyone. The Parkland cult members are calling for Laura Ingraham to be boycotted. They're going after her advertisers because what happened is she was like laughing on Twitter about the fact that he who shall not be named failed to get into a number of colleges he had applied to, and then came out and was like upset about it. It's like, the fact that you are a shooting survivor has nothing to do with your academic credentials. You either got in or you didn't. Yeah, when you apply to Harvard, there's a good chance that you get fucking rejected. It's just sort of the way that the world works. Welcome to the real world, the one that many of these people appear not to be living in. But here are my thoughts on it. Fox News is corporate swill. It's corporate propaganda. Laura Ingraham is just a seven-figure talking head fucking pundit. A propagandist like any other. So I'm not going to defend her. I don't really care. I don't care if she gets canned. I don't care if Fox News continues to exist. If they flatline tomorrow, I would think it a good thing because, a lot of those Fox viewers, they'd come online for a change instead of watching cable corporate swill, and they'd actually get some truth with their, bloated, biased opinions. The same, by the way, before you think I'm going to the left or something, CNN and MSNBC are the same too. In fact, they're all the same. They're multi-billion-dollar corporations run by, in some cases, parent companies that are even larger. Many of which are multinational. They have no loyalty to the U.S., so, when they cover U.S. policy, it's laughable. Like CNN, I think, is in it technically. Their parent company, where is it technically based? Probably got a mailbox in Cyprus or the Cayman Islands. Like next to Mitt Romney's mailbox or something. Yeah, they really speak for the poor and working class. They speak for black people that are in the inner cities. The fact that they make 8 figures and live in penthouses escapes your notice, apparently. But at the same time, look, the Parkland cult, which is what it has become, it's a cult of personality, is arguing fundamentally for the erasing and denigration of a constitutional right. Now, this is not primarily going to affect criminals, unless you assume most people in the country that have a gun are a criminal or a soon-to-be criminal. This will primarily affect law-abiding citizens. I would react the same way if a group of people were saying, oh, we need more restrictions on speech. We need more restrictions on privacy. We need more restrictions on a person's right to have a fair trial. We're not too sure about the idea of giving a fair trial to someone if it's a sex abuse allegation. We've seen this already. In the last year, we've seen attacks on the right to a fair trial. We've seen attacks on the Second Amendment, on the First Amendment, corporate attacks mainly on the Fourth Amendment. We've seen a bizarre position where the left is actually arguing for the 10th Amendment while the right wing is arguing against it. Now, this is all part of a cultural paradigm shift, but when I look at, the Parkland cult is just a symptom of a larger disease. It's the disease of authoritarianism. It's the disease of self-righteous people who have been, because of propaganda, fooled into believing that culture is falling apart and everything's terrible. Now, look at how interesting this is. The same people, Parkland cult, or their allies, people that are like them, that look at the crime stats that involve the U.S., showing, hey, most incidences of shootings, when you talk about shootings, you're also talking about justifiable shootings, accidental shootings, and suicides. It's not just all crimes, actually. In fact, the majority of them, technically speaking, are not willful crimes at all. Most of it involves something else. So spare me the absolute number of shootings. Look at gun crime. It's at a near 50-year low in the country. Much of it involves suicide. Most of the rest involves gang violence and handguns that would be better addressed by looking at the sources of their gang revenue, which is basically drugs and things like that. You can address that by rescinding the drug war. You don't need gun control to do that. You can drop the crime rate in this country further. We could probably be back to the crime rate we had in the 20s if we really wanted to. But we have to end the drug war in the prison complex. They make lots and lots of money throwing people in prison for non-violent drug offenses. So yeah, they're glad to have their slavery, which is basically what it is. It's basically modern day slavery. A prison today, for most intents and purposes, is really a plantation more than it is a rehab facility. If you want a healthy society, you need to invert the prison system as it currently stands. But these people have just been taken in by a moral panic. They don't understand that crime rates are actually, historically speaking, quite low. That they've been dropping like a rock for 20 years despite skyrocketing gun sales, more guns in more hands. it is impossible for them to reconcile their inaccurate worldview with actual statistics. On the other hand, though, if that group of people is very helpfully attacking a corporate media outlet, Fox News is nothing more than propaganda. Much of it being co-opted by foreign governments and other corporations. I don't really give a crap what happens to Fox News. I'm sorry, I just can't compel myself to care. It's not like content creation like online. If I look and I see even someone on the far left, and they're getting abused because, they said one off-color joke, or somebody didn't like them, they got raided or whatever, and they're being abused by big tech or something, I'm going to defend them. And it's happened before. But at the same time, if it's not independent content creation, if it's just a for-profit corporation, well, if these corporations have a right to randomly abuse people because free market, which isn't true, it has nothing to do with it, but that's the claim made by the authoritarians, well then yeah, go ahead and abuse the corporations too. I guess it cuts in both directions. By the way, don't blame me when I attack these corporations. Look, they file hit pieces against me. I get attacked by the Wall Street Journal of all places, Right Wing Watch and all these others. A couple of the tech groups have thrown me into articles of a half defamatory nature. So yeah, don't expect me to have too much loyalty towards the corporate media. It's even funnier, but here's the thing. Fox is just a boogeyman. I don't even think these people realize Fox itself has no ideology whatsoever. There are people on Fox that obviously like Trump. There are also people on Fox who probably should join the TNC. Fox News is really, it's a boogeyman at this point. O'Reilly's no longer there. The big Evangelo Con. And Sean Hannity is like an afterthought at this point. Like fucking, I haven't heard much from him lately. Like Tucker Carlson, I guess, would be the big one. He leans slightly libertarian, but he's still an 8-figure penthouse dweller. So he doesn't speak for me. A lot of people on the right or whatever who think I'm a conservative, which is hilarious. They're like, well, you shouldn't don't punch right, and Fox News is better than these others, and Tucker Carlson at least okay. No, none of these people speak for me. That's like if I were black saying, well, Al Sharpton gets a pass even though he hasn't done anything for me or any community I'm associated with. I'm sitting there working class, middle class, happen to be black, so I've got to support this dude who says he loves black people. No, that's not going to happen anymore. It's like when people who are like further right, they're like, oh, I'm not going to attack David Duke because he stands for my... No, he doesn't stand for your values. He's some rich dude who's been in organized politics. Who fucking cares about him? Speak for yourself and don't expect somebody else to do it for you. Don't be cowardly. I see this all the time. The problem being, of course, in this situation, the people attacking Laura Ingraham are cowardly in that manner. They want some figurehead to do it for them. They want government to take care of a problem that doesn't even exist. They actually want to give more authority to government, and then they turn around and say, if you criticize us, you're a bully. We're going to go after your advertisers. We're going to say you're a horrible, despicable human being because you dislike our ideological message. Our ideological message is, hey, we want to take your rights away. But if you disagree with that, there's something wrong with you. That argument could be so easily inverted by people who are pro-gun. In fact, in some cases it is, and the argument would actually hold water. There was an article, I can't remember which firm put it out, it was actually a left-leaning outlet a few days ago said, oh, the big problem we have with trying to pass gun control is ultimately a lot of these people are ignorant ideologues. They don't even know anything about guns, so how are we supposed to debate people that obviously do because they own them? Yeah, that's a good point. You don't know anything about guns. You also don't know anything about crime statistics. You don't know anything about geopolitics. You don't know anything. What do you tell you? It has nothing to do with age. Some of the people in these crowds are old, but they're still dumb. The fact that, and that's the other thing I would say. Here's one thing that absolutely needs to be given up by any credible individual. Stop attacking the Parkland protesters for being young. It doesn't matter that they're young. I've met people who are considerably younger than me that are very smart, and I've met people that are considerably younger than me that are quite dumb. I've met people that are considerably older than me who fall into both categories. It has nothing to do with their age. As for life experience, people told by the millennial generation, people like me, that for years and years I was arguing against the war, against surveillance, against censorship, in favor of expanded liberty, and I was called a hippie for this during the Bush administration. People said, you don't know what real life is like, so shut up. Well, here I am. Now, all of a sudden, I'm making plenty of money. Hundreds of thousands of people are listening to me, and I still basically have the same views. Only now I'm not called a hippie, now I'm called far right for having the exact same fucking views that I've had consistently for years and years. I haven't changed any of my views. Absolutely nothing about what I've been saying has changed since the mid-2000s. Now, at first, that meant I was a moderately liberal Democrat individual. I was like an Obama voter. Then it meant I was a Ron Paul libertarian because the Democrats abandoned all that shit. The Republicans hadn't taken it up. Then it meant I was Trump MAGA populist, and now I'm not even sure exactly what it means anymore. It doesn't seem like there is any particular political group or figure that really speaks for me. Then I realized, of course, I don't need them to. I'll fucking speak for myself. I can speak to more people than some of these eggheads can anyway. They want to talk about how wonderful their Parkland rally was, 200,000 people. Okay, I can reach that many people every other day. It's very, very easy. Why do you think that they're concerned about wanting to censor things online? I wonder why that could possibly be. Look, real life marching, ask Richard Spencer. Real life get-ups, meetups don't really work at this point. They're not as compelling as they used to be. Look, most of the people online are chastising you for wanting to destroy the Constitution. You can get all the fluff pieces in a newspaper or on cable that you want. Their audiences are old and dying, and a lot of those older people don't agree with you. And you can cook all the polls you want. Who trusts the polls at this point? Nobody even trusts it. Like, they say, well, there's a Fox News poll, so 90% of people want to ban assault weapons, which you don't even know what that means. Who fucking cares, number one? That's called direct democracy. Thankfully, we don't exist in one. Number two, I strongly doubt that. I don't trust Fox News' polls. I'm not even a conservative, so why would I bother? Yeah, a bunch of rich people living in penthouses in a gun-free Manhattan, where the only people with firearms are the police and private security forces hired by those same penthouse dwellers. I'm going to listen to them talk about firearms. How many of these people have ever even fired one? Probably almost none of them. It's like watching, what's his name there, from CNN, Anderson Cooper, the dude that got bumped by that other pundit, despite having like a 30-year career and total name recognition, he gets bumped out of half of his primetime slot. And it was like the funniest thing ever. Watching him try to fire, a big scary AR-15, it was like the most funny thing I've ever seen in my life. And obviously, he wants to look intimidating while doing it. And I'm sure he gets off on that stuff. They all do. Bunch of weirdos. But Laura Ingraham, yeah, go ahead and boycott her. But you remember, you're attempting, when you go after people's advertisers, what you're attempting to do is invest corporations with morality, with the power to sort of go through and decide what they do or do not support. That works both ways, dude. There were a lot of people that don't get me started on 10 years ago, people doing that to people who supported gay marriage. Oh, this corporation won't say Merry Christmas and has, openly gay workers. We have to boycott it, said a Bill O'Reilly. And so you get a bunch of brain-dead peons who ultimately, they're not affected by the situation, listening to some crappy-ass 7-8 figure pundit and then going off to boycott things. When some random person are listening to someone who sits there on stage and lifts his fist, says enough is enough, you're falling into a cult of personality. Look, it's a sheep-like, horde-like mentality. It's really, really rather strange to watch so many people act in such an ignorant manner. And that's exactly what it is, Don't understand the Constitution, don't understand the problem of corporate morality, which is almost a paradox or a misnomer. You don't understand government can't be benevolent. You've never looked at crime statistics. You're just taken in by a bunch of emotional arguments. Then again, Fox News does the same thing, so I don't know. I don't care. Let Fox and the Parkland people attack one another. Let them publicly vent on one another. Let them go after and harass each other on Twitter. It's just a funny spectacle. That's about all. Peace out.